Our orders were clear. Keep your sword in Waller's back and do not allow him to rejoin the rest of the Parliamentarian armies. We thought that would be an easy task.
So welcome back to the campaign, guys. So this week we had a small force heading out from Gloucester for the Royalists in pursuit of William Waller and his small force. So it is literally 3 units per side. Waller, his instructions are to try and head north towards Nottingham to link up with Fairfax, whilst the small force, which has just left Gloucester, has been told to sort of keep their sword in his back. Both forces pretty equal. Waller has more musket troops. He's got commanded shot and musketeers and a light artillery piece. The Royalists have a pike unit, a musketeer unit and a harquebusier unit. So it's relatively equal. Obviously Waller, he was the one who was being pursued, and he's chosen the ground to fight on, so he does have an advantage here. So the Royalists, they came up the road, and instead of heading all along the road itself, they decided they would head into the fields and try and use a bit of as much cover as they can to avoid getting shot at by the artillery piece. The musketeers did take the first hit from the gun and lost a couple of men, but it wasn't too detrimental. I think they suffered 2 cohesion loss. Turn 2 saw the Royalists continue their manoeuvres. However, it did bring them in range of the commanded shot who had withdrawn into the farm buildings. Then the light artillery piece again targeted those musketeers as they did their flank march. So as turn 3 came about, the Royalist harquebusiers had swung round slightly further into the fields, whilst the main infantry for the Royalists started to themselves move up into the fields, and that brought them into range of musket fire. The artillery piece tried a shot, but due to the obscurity of firing into the cornfields, completely missed. So turn 4 saw the Royalist musketeers advancing, and they came under a hail of fire. The artillery piece was targeting the pikemen, but again fired short. And then for the first time the Royalist musketeers returned fire, bringing down several of the Parliamentarian commanded shot. So turn 5 saw the Parliamentarians holding their ground whilst the Royalists advanced inexorably forwards. Artillery fired again and the shot went wide, yet again missing. Musketeers from both sides exchanged close range fire, bringing down multiples of their opponents. However, the Royalists in the field did suffer the worst for it, unfortunately. And due to the excessive casualties that they'd taken, the Royalist musketeers did break, fleeing back through the cornfields. So with that, it was time for the pikemen themselves to try and advance. Another blast of the cannon, which went wide, and the pikemen were in. They took closing fire, which was pretty devastating to them, but they did a pretty good charge, that's for sure. However, at the end, in almost destroying the commanded shot in the farmstead, the pikemen basically lost their nerve. They'd already had 1 regiment rout. They lost a lot of casualties, and so they themselves broke also. So we decided that we would class this battle as a draw overall. So another turn, this time not so good for the Royalists. They didn't manage to catch their man, and he has now escaped. So where does that leave us at the end of turn 4, I hear you ask? So I will tell you. Ultimately, we've seen quite a bit of movement. We've seen Cromwell and Fairfax heading north and on a more centrally direction, and we've had Waller escaping, and now he has linked up with Fairfax. The Royalists themselves are slightly divided at the end of the turn, and we do now have the addition of Alexander Leslie with his Scottish Covenanters become available from next turn. So overall, it's a bit of a precarious situation for the Royalists, but equally the Parliamentarians are in a bit of a tricky situation themselves. I mean, now when I look upon the map itself, from the Parliamentarians' perspective, we've got the Scots. Now, what do we do with them? I see three potential options really. One, we could send the whole force across to take Ireland and start stripping Royalist territories that way. Plus that would free them up to be able to then strike across into basically wherever they want to along the west coast. So that's the first thing I see. The second would be to send a small force to do that, whilst the remainder make their way down, either capturing territories or making a beeline straight for the nearest Royalist army. Option 3 would be to send the whole force south in a straight line to try and engage the Royalist army in the field and destroy it. And option 4 would be to split it into two and have one force head down the northeast, one down the northwest, and again just try and capture and take the territories, because that will then hamper the Royalists' ability to build their forces and spend their campaign points. When it comes to the the Parliamentarians, so Waller's force has now merged with Fairfax, so they've got one large army there, and then you've got Cromwell's force just above. So again, the question is, do we combine our forces and target one enemy army? Do we march north to try and link up with the Scottish Covenanters? I have to say at this stage we need to be careful because of the fact that we don't want to lose London. If we lose London and Bristol, then we could lose the war very quickly. Not because we've lost more battles or anything like that, but just because we will have lost those two key cities. So that could, if we lose a couple more territories and those two, lead to just the collapse of basically our economy and our ability to wage the war. So we've got to be careful about London. So yeah, do we send Fairfax and Waller back down south, keep Cromwell in the north? Yeah, there's quite a few different options we can go for. And then likewise for the Royalists, do we send all of our forces to converge and try and encircle and destroy the Parliamentarians where they are around Nottingham? Or does the king himself with his reinforcements go after London and try and seize the prize? Or do we have some other option? Do we send the king to take London, take his reinforcements instead to go down to the southwest, capturing territories? We've got a lot of options that we can go for. Do we send the king down south, but then we send all of the Irish reinforcements from both the north and the south to merge with Rupert and then use him to try and break the Parliamentarians in the centre? They're the sort of different situations and options that we have. So yeah, let me know what your plans are and what your thoughts are, and then we'll get the poll up for everyone to vote on Turn 5's actions shortly. Anyway, I hope you're still enjoying the campaign. I know I am, thoroughly enjoying it, and till next time guys, stay safe.